everyone, this is Homemaking with Rebecca. Today I'm in my kitchen and I'm making some muffins and I want to show you what I'm doing. I'm actually got a lot of things going on today. I've made some waffles for the kids for breakfast in hopes that I could freeze some for them to have for later. They ate quite a few of those, so won't be a ton to go in the freezer, but we still have some. And then I'm making this artisan einkorn whole grain bread. So I've got it rising here and I'll put it in the oven in a few minutes. So I'm also making these muffins and I'm going to show you what recipe we're using today. So we're going to be making these slightly sweet muffins. This is my ebook that I have, breakfast recipe ebook, and I'll put a link to this down in the description below if you want to download it and you can print all these recipes off. These are just some of our favorite recipes over the years that we have loved and we've used over and over again. I'm just going to compile them all into one book so that we can have it together and I can give it to my kids so they can have the recipes when they leave home, and just also to have them kind of all in one place. And so I've made that available to you. You can, like I said, you can download it in the link below. And this is one of our favorite recipes that we just use over and over again. And basically it's just a basic muffin recipe, and then you can add what you want to it. So one of my goals in making these videos is just to pass along a lot of the information that I've learned over the years that has helped me, you know, when my kids were little and we started cutting out processed foods and tried to eat mostly real foods, you know, just finding things that we liked that was accessible and easy for us to make. And so that's my goal here, in just trying to help you pass along the information that I've already learned. So this is the ebook, Breakfast Recipes, and like I said, we're using this muffin recipe today. The waffle recipe is also in there. It is a sourdough recipe, so if you do sourdough, you can use that. I usually use freshly ground flour with it, whole grain flour, but it should work with any flour. What I love about this recipe is that it's very versatile, just like a lot of the things that I make. And so it's a basic muffin recipe, and then you can add what you want. If you want to add fresh fruit to it, you can. If you want to add frozen fruit, if you want to add dried fruit, if you want to sub some of the flour for oats, you can do that. I like to do that. Like that's what we're doing today. We're going to sub in 1 cup of the flour for oats. This makes about 18 to 20 muffins. Because for my family, you know, 12 muffins isn't that much. And then if you want to double it, you're going to get about 3 dozen muffins. So today we're going to do these cranberries on hand, these dried cranberries. So we're going to do cranberries and oats. We're going to do a cranberry and oat muffin. And like I said, you can add jam in the middle. You can just make them plain, and then you can just kind of spoon some jam in the middle. That's really good. Lots of options here. So that's what I said. I like to make it versatile, easy for you to use. So we're going to get started today on these muffins, and I'm going to show you how I make them. So I just started using these baking cups. They're called If You Care. And I got these off Vitacost. That's where I order a lot of my stuff. But I think you can get them on Amazon too. They're compostable and unbleached, totally chlorine free, and they're just basically just little parchment paper ones. And normally I just use the little paper ones from the store, but these work so much better. The muffins don't stick to them, so they just pop right out, and I love that they're you know, unbleached and that sort of thing. So we're just gonna get these in there. You do not have to use muffin papers, but it definitely makes the cleanup so much easier, and it's just nice to have them in that little paper, you know, when you're taking them with you on the go or something like that. So also, if you're this is gonna make about 18 or so, or 18 or 20, we're gonna put those in there and we'll see how it works out. So now if you only have 1 muffin pan, you could take another smaller pan that you have, maybe even like a loaf pan or a small loaf pan, and put the rest of the muffin batter in there, you know, if you don't have enough muffin pans. But I find it really good to invest in several of these muffin tins because muffins are just so easy and they freeze well and they're good to take on the go. So we've got all our ingredients here. I'm using melted butter, or you could use a lighter tasting oil, like a light olive oil or something like that. I've got 2 eggs, milk, I've got my sugar, flour, and I'm going to use some oats. And then we've got salt and baking powder over here. So we're just going to get started throwing that all together, and then also our cranberries. So I've got my oven on 400 preheating, and then we're just going to get, it calls for 3 cups of flour, but I'm going to be using 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of oats. So we've got our 2 cups of flour there. This is an all-purpose einkorn flour. You can use regular all-purpose flour as well. oats. One cup of sugar. Got 1 teaspoon of salt and 4 teaspoons of baking powder. My baking powder has been really lumpy lately. I guess it's just sitting out in the humidity and stuff. So I've been putting it through this strainer here just to get all the lumps out. If you don't, sometimes it won't get mixed up in there and then you'll have a big lump and it doesn't taste very good. So you want 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and we're just gonna run that through this. And there we go. Now I'm gonna whisk that up. And then we're just gonna pour in our wet ingredients, mix it up, and get it in our pan. So this is basically just a 1 bowl recipe. I love that muffins are just one of those really simple things to make too, that you can just put it together so quickly. So we're getting our butter in here. Now we've got eggs and our milk. And then once I get all that mixed up, I'll go ahead and add in our cranberries. I'll whisk that a little bit since it's got those eggs in there. I think muffins are one of the best little portable foods because you can just grab them and go. If you've got them in the freezer, it doesn't take them very long to thaw out, and so you can just take them with you. And if you're not wanting to eat them right away, they should thaw out pretty quick. Some of my kids even love to have frozen muffins. So this is one of those things. Like I said, we just eat a lot of muffins here, especially when my kids were little. Now they can be messy, so if you're eating them in the car, you might want to think about that. But just a great little portable food. Throw in these cranberries. These are from Vitacost too, and they are sweetened with apple juice, so I think that's pretty cool. I love Vitacost. I've been using them for years and years, and they just have a lot of great products. All right, we got that mixed in. Now we're going to put this in our muffin pan and get it baking. This would be really good for whatever fruit you've got in season. You could chop up some apples and put in there, and some cinnamon. You could put some peaches. We have peaches here in season right now, but they're still kind of hard to come by, and they've gotten kind of expensive, but I love a good peach. That would make a really good muffin. I need one more here, I think. So you want to try to get all this, if you spilled any, off, because that's going to cook on there and then it's just going to be hard to clean up afterwards. So I just kind of like to scrape it off there. You can wipe it off there, and then you got less to clean up later. Into the oven we go. Those are going to bake. We're going to set it for 15 minutes and check them after that. Looking nice and brown. Should be done. And if you're not sure if they're done, you can take a toothpick here, stick it in the middle and pull it out. You see how it comes out clean. It doesn't have anything on it, so you know they were good to go. I'm gonna try this one because this one doesn't look as done. That's good to go. Good to go. Got our muffins all finished here, and I'm gonna go ahead and try one while it's still warm. Look how nice that paper just peels right off there. I love that. This einkorn flour I use tends to be more sticky and leaves more on there, and so I like that this just comes right off like this. It's really good. And these tend to be a little bit more flatter. They don't puff up as much because they've got more liquid in them, but that also makes them where they're not as dry and stuff too. So please let me know if you make this recipe. I will post it in the description below. And if you would also like to order my ebook, you can get that as well. And it's got this recipe and several others in it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.